So if, like me, you are a massive fan of one team or a fan of loads of teams from around the world, I have the perfect app to keep you up to date, and it is of course the OneFootball app. The reason I say this is because they are great at giving you the latest league tables, live team news, upcoming fixtures, player statistics from your favourite players from your favourite clubs, everything you need to keep you up to date with all of your favourite teams. And don't worry, they also have your fix of live football covered, with a match which you can watch live in the Serie A every single weekend for free using the OneFootball app. If you are interested, either use the link in the description down below or scan the QR code on screen now to download the OneFootball app today. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today there's something a little bit off with the camera. I look a bit weird, I'm not quite sure what's wrong there. Hopefully I'll have that sorted for next video. But today we are talking about Manchester United and how they can beat Barcelona. Now, of course, we covered the first leg on the channel, and it was a really interesting game. An excellent battle between two top sides, a lot of entertaining duels going on all over the pitch, and I think Manchester United should have won. I think perhaps by 2 or 3 goals even. However, despite that, I still think that it wasn't a perfect performance from Manchester United. I think there were ways in which Xavi and Barcelona were hurting United, which can be addressed. So that's what we're going to do today. However, first of all, we need to start off with the lineups. And again, sorry, I'm just distracted by the camera because it isn't right. Just bear with it basically for today. We'll get it sorted for next video. Let's start off with the lineups, talk about Manchester United, where I think we will see a couple of changes because of returns from suspension, etc, etc. Lisandro Martinez will definitely come into the team, which will mean Luke Shaw at left back, Varane at right centre back, and I'm going to go for Dalot at right back for a bit more security on the ball. We then got a Sabitzer and Casemiro double pivot for the first time at Manchester United. Now, yes, there is an argument for Fred to play. I think he's been very good recently, and this sort of game does suit him, that high-tempo football. However, I'm going for Sabitzer in this game just for a bit of extra security on the ball. However, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Fred. Then I'm going to go for this same front four, which we've seen a couple of times recently. Jadon Sancho on the left wing, Bruno Fernandes on the right wing. Weghorst in a sort of a 10 or a shadow striker role with Marcus Rashford up front, and I'll come on to my reasons later on in the video. As for Barcelona, again, they will be forced into changes. I think we will see a stronger back four with Christensen and Balde playing. Busquets should be back from injury. Not 100% sure on it, however, I think he will play. This will allow Frenkie de Jong to move into left centre mid, which is his favourite position. Sergi Roberto will come in for the injured Pedri. Rafinha, I'd imagine, will play on the right hand side because he was really good in the first leg. Lewandowski, of course, up top. And then Ansu Fati on the left wing for the suspended Gavi. This is how I think it will play out in terms of lineups, so let's have a look at what will happen on the pitch. And we're going to start off with how Manchester United can do a better job of pressing Barcelona. So, in general, in the first leg, I think that Manchester United pressed pretty well. I think it disrupted Barcelona's game pretty well. However, I still think there were weaknesses and flaws in the way that Manchester United decided to press in this game, basically. So, I would make changes. But before we talk about the change, we need to talk about the issue in the first leg. So the issue was that Barcelona moved to their typical 3-box-3 shape, which looks something like this. Now, just allow the personnel, we're referring to the first leg, however the personnel is slightly different. But the shape is still the same, and Barcelona looked to set up like this basically. What we then saw was Manchester United matching them with a front three, and then going man for man basically in the midfield, something like this. We saw Varane moving on to this defender, this forward here, and Manchester United set up something like this. The issue with this Manchester United press was that if the left back dropped deeper, the Manchester United right back was unsure as to whether or not they should follow. Because if they do follow in this area, with Varane also getting dragged onto what was Gavi in that game, if Dalot also goes forward, it leaves this massive gap in behind the defence for Manchester United. And this was the slight hesitation which Manchester United had, which meant that at times the Barcelona left back could receive the ball in a lot of space and play forward, and then from there Manchester United are 1 versus 1 all over the pitch, which is an effective way of defending. However, it puts a lot of pressure on the players. 1 versus 1 duels everywhere are quite difficult against a team as technically secure as Barcelona. And particularly on the right hand side, Rafinha was very good. So I would make a couple of changes to kind of stop these areas. Because United had this problem here on the right wing. There was then this channel of space in here where there was an issue. And also this area here where Manchester United had an issue. So I'm going to quickly suggest a few changes to address those problems. So the problem for me, as I was saying there, was that Manchester United were man for man, and it just left me a little bit on the edge. It leaves the left back, the full backs, getting a bit isolated at times, as well as the centre backs. So the way for Manchester United to turn away from a man-to-man press is to instead use one player to almost essentially take out 2 outfield players, which then frees up someone somewhere else. The way that I would do this is by asking Marcus Rashford to split Koundé and Christensen. I'm not asking for intense pressure on the ball, I'm asking him to force ter Stegen to play one way and then force him that way. So let's say the ball goes wide to Christensen here. Rashford needs to stand between the two centre-backs so they can't pass to each other. Or it can work the other way as well. From here, the rest of the press is quite self-explanatory. Sancho is going to push up high on the Barcelona right-back, who always plays deeper. Bruno Fernandes is going to come inside onto Frenkie de Jong. Weghorst is going to match himself up on Sergio Busquets. Manchester United are now man for man with this Barcelona box shape. Dalot is on Balde, Shaw is on Rafinha, and the two Manchester United centre-backs are on Lewandowski. So, how does this address the problems that we saw before? Well, now if Balde is going to go short, Dalot can now follow him, because he has a security of two centre-backs behind him instead of one, because before, Varane was getting dragged out, leaving this space here. So what we've done is we've addressed this issue here that Manchester United had because Dalot is squeezing higher, but also we've addressed the issue in behind the defence. Because instead of Varane getting dragged into these areas, Casemiro is now doing the job. Varane is covering deeper, so it's 2 versus 1 at the back here, giving Manchester United the advantage. And also the other problem, Rafinha on Shaw. I think Shaw is a better 1 versus 1 defender than what Malacia is. So again, that improves that area. So Manchester United, by changing shape, have addressed this issue on the right hand side with Dalot pushing higher. They've addressed this issue of space in the right centre-back channel because Varane is now there with Casemiro covering the midfield, and they have also covered the left-hand side problem with Luke Shaw coming into the team. All whilst still maintaining the structure which worked very well in the first leg of Manchester United going man for man in the box basically in these areas. Sancho on Araujo on this side. The only difference is we're asking Rashford to split the centre-backs rather than Manchester United going man for man in these areas. I think what this does is allows Manchester United to play in the same way. Because as soon as Barcelona look to play the ball forward into these areas in here, Manchester United still have an incredible amount of intensity in Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Sabitzer and Weghorst. You've got 4 players who work incredibly hard, are incredibly hard to get past in 1 versus 1 defensive duels. So if Manchester United are on it basically and sharp and intense in these areas, I think it gives Manchester United a lot of potential to win the ball back in these areas and then counter-attack in exactly the same way which we saw in the first leg, which was so dangerous. So once again, by changing the shape slightly, we've secured Manchester United from a defensive point of view, but still we're creating that element of chaos which served United so well in the first leg. Barcelona don't want chaos, so if United are able to win the ball back in these areas, then get at the defence, it's impossible to deal with for Barcelona. No one in world football can really deal with Sancho, Rashford and Bruno Fernandes combining on a counter-attack. It's just so dangerous. If those 3 players in particular are on it in the final third, United could really hurt Barcelona in these quick attacking transitions. So that's why if I was Ten Hag, this is the change that I would be making. However, I think we also need to talk about what Manchester United can do when they're building possession as well. So before we continue with the video, I want to talk to you guys about where I got this shirt from, and you probably guessed it, jerseyfifa.com. They have kindly sponsored today's video and also sent me a load of free shirts for me to check out myself, and I can now really vouch for the quality of these products. They have loads of shirts to offer on the website, so if you are interested, head to the link in the description down below and check out Jersey FIFA for yourself. So before we can talk about what Manchester United need to do to deal with the Barcelona press basically in the second leg, we need to talk about what Xavi done in the first leg, which caused United a few problems. And what that was Barcelona set up in a 3-2-3-2 pressing structure. And what we'll see in the second leg is that Barcelona won't fall for that same trick with De Gea, which we saw early in the first leg, so that kind of takes that out of the equation. Barcelona will be man for man all over the pitch. And again, as I keep saying on the channel at the moment, this is going to create a problem because Manchester United can just not deal with 1 versus 1 duels in their own defensive third, basically, because they don't have press-resistant footballers. You can't magic one up out of nowhere. There's not too much Ten Hag can do here, and that's why it's quite difficult. One thing we could see, though, is the fullbacks dropping a little bit deeper in these areas. And the reason I say this is just for a bit more security in case United lose the ball. Because what we saw at times in the first leg, and it led to one of the goals, was it's Luke Shaw at the time, getting the ball here, playing into Casemiro, who tries to hook a ball wide this way. And the problem was, Tyrell Malacia at the time was way too high up the pitch here, which meant that when Casemiro hooked the ball, Barcelona won it and then attacked quite menacingly, and it led to the goal. So what Manchester United need to do for a bit more security is just drop the fullbacks a little bit deeper to give Casemiro the extra option on the ball. Now, yes, this is going to invite Barcelona onto a bit more, but at least Manchester United now have the personnel to deal with it. So rather than Rafinha getting a free run, at least Luke Shaw is now there. And the same with Dalot on Balde on the other side. So I think it's still not ideal for Manchester United, but I think it just gives them a bit more defensive security in case they lose the ball. It's a bit of a fail-safe measure almost. Put the fullbacks a little bit deeper, just in case. Ultimately, while that is an approach which should give United a bit more defensive security, I still don't think they're going to be able to play their way through the press. I just don't think they're good enough on the ball. So instead what they need to do is once again go long, and that is exactly why Weghorst plays. Now if we go back to the Manchester United starting 11, there is an argument that you could play Sabitzer in this Weghorst role and put Fred in the double pivot alongside Casemiro. There's certainly an argument for that. However, I think the height of Weghorst for this ability to go long could be really useful for Manchester United. And again, in this game with Frenkie de Jong now being on the left side of midfield, it should be Frenkie de Jong that he is up against in most of these duels. So I think if Manchester United can play the ball long to Weghorst, Weghorst has to be better in the air than what he has been recently. There's been far too many situations where the ball is bouncing off him. In the first leg, I was talking about him losing aerial duels to the likes of Alba and Gavi. That's not acceptable. I've been a fan of his loan so far, but he has to sharpen up. This is not good enough for him to lose those aerial duels. In this game, that has to change, because Weghorst against Frenkie de Jong in the air is a complete mismatch. Or it should be anyway, on paper it is. Weghorst has to do a better job of making the ball stick, because what it allows Manchester United to do, especially if they're going to pull their fullback deeper, which attracts Barcelona onto them, is it means that by going long to Weghorst, if United can win either the first ball or the second ball, you can take 5 Barcelona players out of the game. So even if Weghorst doesn't win that first ball, Manchester United have to be there on the seconds. Whether it's Casemiro stepping forward, Sabitzer getting in there, Rashford, Fernandes, Manchester United have to be like a pack of wolves hunting, waiting for that ball to drop down. On that second ball, Manchester United have to be there. Because if they can be there and can win this second ball, they're then man for man with the Barcelona backline. And like I've said already, not many defences in world football can deal with Sancho, Rashford and Bruno Fernandes on form. Sprinkle in the physicality of Weghorst, the energy and passing ability of Sabitzer, with Casemiro kind of supplying the ball from deeper. That again is where Manchester United can get at this Barcelona team. Now, I get that this isn't ideal. Under Ten Hag we want to see sustained possession eventually, but the team just can't do it at the moment. And Ten Hag is quite intelligent, and he knows the squad can't do that. Basically, he knows his squad very well, so I don't think we will see him asking for sustained possession. I think we will see chaos once again, like we saw in that first leg. Go long, get on the second ball, and then attack Barcelona quickly. That is the way that Manchester United will win this match. It's not about building possession and controlling the tempo of the game. Make it chaotic again, because Manchester United should have the legs and the energy and the athleticism to win this midfield battle. The likes of Bruno Fernandes and Weghorst, in terms of the energy levels, are a mismatch on Frenkie de Jong and Sergio Busquets. A complete mismatch. So, Manchester United, this is the way to win the game. Like I said, it's not ideal, but I think it's the approach that I personally would be using, and I think Ten Hag will do the exact same thing. Now, like I've said already, once you get into these positions, it is then about individual quality. Manchester United have to be sharp and take their chances. In the first leg, I think they could have scored 1, certainly 2 more goals in that particular game. Manchester United have to be ruthless, because Barcelona are a good team, and we saw that in the first leg. If you don't kill them, they will take their chances and punish you. So Manchester United have to be much more ruthless. Weghorst has to show more quality on the ball. Bruno Fernandes has to be on it with his passing. Sancho has to have the right selection on the ball. And Rashford needs to keep doing what Marcus Rashford has been doing. Because, like again, if United can go long, get on these second balls, get in these areas, Barcelona will be stretched. Because Barcelona will press high. Some might say, well, it's alright saying this, it's only a theory, but Barcelona will just counter it by dropping deep. They won't. Barcelona will press super high up the pitch because it is exactly what they have done in every single game this season. So if you can go long, bypass that press, get on the second ball, like I've said already, you're taking 5 Barcelona players out of the game. Why would you not take that option? From there, the hold-up has to be better from Weghorst. But if United can get around on these second balls and turn it into transition, we saw that Barcelona cannot deal very well with that. They struggled massively in the first leg. This is where Manchester United can win the game. So that's how I would set up if I was Ten Hag, and that is how I think Manchester United can beat Barcelona, and genuinely going into the game, I'm quite confident. Now, this is all a theory. I'm not saying this is exactly how it will play out. This is what could happen. It's how I would be approaching the game if I was Erik Ten Hag. But ultimately, we'll have to wait and see, because someone like Xavi could throw a spanner in the works with a surprise selection in his team. For some reason I struggle to say that. Or Ten Hag could do the same. But this is kind of how I can see the game playing out. It's how I would approach it. But let me know what you think in the comments, basically. What do you think the score will be? What would your approach to the game be? What would your starting 11 be? All of that, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.